My name is JC Silvey, and welcome to the Loudoun Impact Podcast. We interview purpose-driven leaders right here in Loudoun County. Really excited today to introduce my next guest, somebody that I've been looking forward to talk to for a long time. It's Mrs. Ketterman, Tammy Ketterman, Kettermans Jewelry. Her and her husband Dan own two stores, one in Vienna, one in Leesburg, and we're in your Leesburg shop right now.
We are.
And thanks for joining me, Mrs. Ketterman. This is a privilege.
Well, thank you so much. I'm used to talking to you about watches
right?
and such. Yeah, so this is fun.
This will be fun, and thank you for taking the time. I know it was a little bit tough to convince you to come and chat with me, but I've been stalking you for a few months there to try to convince you, and I appreciate you taking the time with me this morning. So, Mrs. Ketterman, normally we jump right into it, and I ask, just tell us about your background and stuff like that. But what I want to do something a little bit different today,
okay.
And I want to talk about how I got to know you and my thoughts about your business and who you are here in Leesburg. I've been a resident of Loudoun for 20-something years, 24 years, and through this podcast and Inside Loudoun and so forth, I've got the opportunity to meet a lot of business owners, and to this day, I'm always amazed at your business, Kettermans Jewelry, here in Loudoun, and this incredible, loyal customer fan base that you have cultivated over many, many years. And it's so impressive to me. And last night I was thinking about what it was, right, that made you so special here in the community. And for me personally, it came down to trust. Right? Like when I think about buying a watch or a piece of jewelry, right? Like that's not something I do very often. And most people don't, I would assume, right? But it's a big occasion. It's very important. It usually involves a significant amount of money. And most of us don't have the ability to look at a stone or a precious metal or gold and really figure out value, right?
True.
So, we really need to trust the person that we're dealing with. And that's what I feel about your business here. It's all trust. And that's why everybody loves you and continues to do business. So talk about trust. Is that something that you think about, that you cultivate?
Oh my goodness, without doubt, because people trust us with the most precious things they have other than their children, but they're the memories. Right. Of their loved ones. And so that's what we are entrusted with. So when they bring us their engagement ring to be repaired, it's not just an engagement ring. That was the start of a journey for them that is hopefully lifelong. And so we have to take that seriously, that they're trusting us not with a diamond ring, but with a memory.
Yes.
So,
when I look back at the times where I've sat with you and you brought things out for me to look at, and I've always felt like you were treating me like a brother, right?
Oh, how nice.
And that's how it's funny because now in my business, that's how I want to be thought of also, as a brother, an older brother, a cousin, or somebody giving advice and saying, I am not going to steer you wrong. Right. I'm going to make sure I do what's best for you. I might not sell you anything today, but maybe down the road you'll come back when it's time because you know that I'm doing what's right for you. Do you think of it like in those terms?
Absolutely. We have all these Kettermans icons that I introduce to every new sales associate. And one of them is, we're not here to sell, we're here to serve. Yeah. Because I feel that, just as you said, if we serve them and care for them correctly, when they have a need, they're going to think of us. Come here.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you instill that in your employees? Because you've got a lot of employees here, a lot of people who have worked here for many, many years, which just fascinates me. But you must have some kind of process in place to convey those those business practices?
Well, we are blessed with just a fabulous staff. We really are. But the number one thing that we do, and we hadn't always done it, but we realized it was so important, was we sit down with that employee on the very first day that they start, which happened to be yesterday for our newest employee. And we tell them about our business, about our ideology, and we have particular icons about teamwork, about security, about who do you work for, and it encompasses the entire community, not just Kettermans, because we want them to understand that Kettermans is only here because of the generosity of the community. And I was about to say of Loudoun County, but it's gone beyond that now. So we're so blessed to have such a great customer base that comes to us.
You really are playing the long game, right? Like people talk about, short-term plays, right? Like that you can do to generate business in the short run, but it takes a lot of commitment and patience to play that long game over 10, 20, 30 years.
You are so right. I hadn't really thought about it that way, but there's always the temptation to maybe buy something inexpensive and blow it out the door at a big profit.
Right.
But we live here in this community, and we have to see that item come back for repair. And so we're just not going to do that. Over the long run, quality is always going to win out. So the long game, that's a good way to put it. I knew you look like an athlete, see.
Well, it's something I think about in my business too, like selling real estate. Like I want to play that long game. I mean, they might not buy 5-10 years, but eventually they will. I think most people will in the end, and I hope they call me at that point. I mean, the idea is to try to convince. A lot of people say I've got to overcome objections, right? Like a lot of sales reps will say, all right, let's practice your objections, right, and overcoming your customer objections. And I just think that's a horrible way to treat a customer, to try to convince them to do something that they don't feel they want to do in their gut. So I've never felt like that in your store. When I came in here, it was just like, hey, whatever you feel is best, right? You got to give me a lot of options, right? You got to give me the pros and cons, right? And ultimately, the decision is mine, though. And that's what you guys preach, right?
That is exactly right. And our job is to give you all of the information. So that you can make that decision on your own, be it yes or be it no. We had a lady in just the other day who had just lost her mom. I felt so bad for her. And she was here with her mother's jewelry, and she needed an appraisal done, but she didn't want to let it out of her sight. And we have to clean something before we can examine it, especially now. And so I was trying to convey to her, the trust issue that you were just speaking of, and I pointed up to our wall here that has our daughter's pictures on it, and I said to her, the best way I can convey my ethics to you is that those are my children on the wall. That's my name over the door. And if I hurt my name by doing something with your mom's diamond, I've hurt my kids. I've hurt my grandkids. And I'm not going to do that. So that's the best way I can convey that to you. Now, it's up to you if you want to trust me with your piece or not. So.
Did you take it?
You know what? She did not, and that particular one, I said it might just be too soon. But we'll see if she comes back. But that's this. I have told that story to so many people because that's just truth here.
It is.
Is that we have all these kids.
How many kids?
I have 6 daughters. Yes, and 3 of them work in the business. One looks over the business from heaven. And 2 of them work out in the community here.
Well, that's great. So, Mrs. Ketterman, obviously the name of the podcast is Purpose-Driven Leaders. I think you have, even though you said you did not think that you fit this podcast when I first talked to you, I think you were one of the first people that I thought of when I came up with the podcast because I think you are a purpose-driven leader. So there are guidelines that drive your business, right, personally and ethically. So
Yes.
I know what they are, but my audience might not. And the people who know you, obviously, or listening to this, know all about your faith. But for those that don't, let's hear you discuss that.
Well, first and foremost, you have to have a moral compass, and so ours is Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are Christians. We're very open about our faiths,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't preach, but we hope we impact.
Sure.
Just because that is our basis for everything that we do. So we share openly with folks if they're open to that. But you don't have to worry about being bombarded by it. Hopefully, it just comes through. We're very family oriented. I was so blessed to grow up with a great mom and dad, and they still live here in Loudoun County. And I used to come here to this building with my dad when it was Southern States back in the 70s.
I was going to say, a couple iterations back.
Yeah, exactly. And my dad was a farmer, and everywhere he would go in the summertime, he'd take sweet corn and tomatoes with him. And he said, Tammy, when I die, put some sweet corn and tomatoes in my coffin so I can buy my way into heaven. And of course, I know that that's not how you get there.
Right, yeah,
but that always,
yeah.
that became part of me. I go everywhere with a rum cake.
Right.
And so that happened to be something that I found. I can't cook a bit, but I can bake a rum cake.
A rum cake.
And so we started, 15 years ago, sharing this rum cake in the jewelry store around the holidays. Yeah. And it's kind of become this thing.
You've got one right behind your shoulder right there from a guest that brought it in the other day, right?
Well, I put the...
Oh, you put the rum cake, but they brought that.
I put the rum cake in. They brought it. And so I'm hoping that maybe he'll come by and I can give him a piece of rum cake.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So getting back to being a purpose-driven leader in your guiding principles, you do provide to the community, and it's talk about that. You told me a little story about that. The blanket.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well. When you say purpose-driven, I feel like my purpose here is to represent Christ.
Sure.
And so I never think of it as, if I do this, then this will happen, and this will happen, and this will happen. So, but as long as I'm acting in His behalf, He's going to let things that I do be glorified, and it becomes much more than I could have ever thought it could be. And so, years ago, I was with Young Life, not on staff. I was with their committee, and we were sitting in a committee meeting and trying to decide how we could raise some money for Young Life. And I said, there's lots of businesses in town. How about if we had them give 10% of their proceeds on the first business day of the month to Young Life? I said we could, it's like the first fruits out of Exodus.
Right, and that's biblical, right?
Yes.
Tithing and 10%. Right.
And they said, well, maybe so. It might be hard to convince somebody. And so I walked away feeling kind of defeated. And then I realized, wait a minute, Tammy, you're a business. You can just do that. You don't have to have there. So our very first fruits ministry was Young Life. And so we continued with this first fruits program where we give 10% of our proceeds on the first day of the month to a particular ministry or charity that we feel serves. As time has gone by, it's gotten to be more of a local thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And it has blessed us tremendously.
Yeah.
And each December, we get together with the girls and we pray about who we're going to invite to be the First Fruits Ministries for the next year, and then we publish them. Today happens to be the first business day of the month, and today Backpack Buddies is going to come in, and they're going to be the recipients.
Yes, that's a great charity.
Yes.
Especially now during COVID. I think it's very important.
Yeah, and it's a little bit different, but their thing is about feeding
Yes.
those kids.
Those kids.
And so it's a wonderful, wonderful ministry.
Yeah, yeah.
And the people who run it are delightful. And so
Yeah.
I look forward to getting to see them. That they've become pretty much an annual thing.
Oh, good.
But I believe that we were introduced to them by a program we do called Charm Girls. And during the holidays, we realized back in, I think it was 2007, that we couldn't handle everybody who needed to see charms in our Brighton room. And so we threw together this program called Charm Girls, where we invited young ladies between the ages of 14 and 16 to come and serve at Christmas time. And they serve 4 4-hour shifts. And they have to come to charm school, and so they learn how to greet customers, how to serve rum cake, and just how to stand and be a polite young lady.
Oh, that's neat.
And we have been blown away by the success of that program.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best things we do because we have a good amount of time to make a real impact on a young person just entering the job market. It's their very first job.
Right.
And so
is it paid or is it volunteer?
It's volunteer. Now we make a donation to the charity of their choice, which is where Backpack Buddies came from. So one of the girls said, well, I want my money given to Backpack Buddies. And so that's how we got to know that charity. And so that is how it just kind of all comes. There was no purpose in it at all, or I didn't think about the purpose. It just happened.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So we're in this incredible store. This is a new store. You were around the corner, but you had some challenges with this, right? Like this wasn't a straightforward move. I mean, it was a big space.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that.
Well, we absolutely loved our landlord. Anybody who was at Virginia Village and had Brian Hours as a landlord, he was just the best of people. Yeah. And our intention was to stay there till we died, and the girls would stay there on. And then Brian said, "Well, I'm thinking about selling." And so we said, well, we'd be interested in buying it. And then somebody with way deeper pockets than we have came along and purchased the property. And they're super nice people who bought it. But it wasn't Brian anymore. And we know that is going to all be taken down and turned into something new else. And something wonderful.
Sure.
But it just didn't seem to fit Kettermans.
Right.
And so we started looking for a place to go, and my husband found this. And I looked at this and I thought, oh my goodness, you must have a real imagination to think that we can turn this into a jewelry store. And so he felt strongly that he could, and so we went ahead and purchased it after a lot of investigation and such. Yeah. We purchased it and just did a little pencil sketch of what we thought we wanted it to look like. Yeah. And they did make it come true, but oh my goodness, what a process it is to build.
Yes, when I heard you guys were doing it, I was like, whoa, that's a big project. It's a huge building, but gosh, you can fill it. Right? I mean, you really need the space, and it's great to see how you've done and been super successful with it. This is pretty neat.
We have been very, very blessed, but we've really wanted to try to take this huge space and make it feel fresh and new, yet intimate. Like the old place had low ceilings, and our customers were saying, "You're not going to make it feel different, are you?" And we thought, well, it has to feel different because it's going to be different. Right. But we definitely wanted to keep some of the touches. So one thing we did do was we invited some of our customers who have been with us just forever. And we had them come for a soft opening before we opened it to everybody on the 12th. Yeah. And we had them sign ceiling tiles. So if you look up, you'll see that some of them have signatures from these customers that have been our basis for
Yeah.
being. And so that's one of the things that we look at. We put the girls' pictures in here. The artist who did those for us is working on our grandchildren.
Yep.
So you can come in and see the roots of Kettermans and really why we do what we do. It's for them, and hopefully they'll give back to the community as well.
I'm sure they will. Yeah. What's on the horizon for you?
For me?
Yes.
Well,
I see your daughter kind of taking more of a leadership role in the business, which is great.
Yes.
And, probably see you a little bit less and less a little bit.
Yeah.
You're spending time with your grandkids and doing some things that you love, right?
Yes, absolutely. Our grandchildren, I realize, are going to be our treasures in heaven.
Yeah.
And so we want to definitely pour into them. And so my husband and I now take Wednesdays off. Yes. And we have all of our grandchildren on that day.
Oh, nice.
And so we have a big 12-passenger bus that we'll put them in, and we'll take them on outings, or we'll just stay at the farm and play. And our job is to try to facilitate time for them to love on one another, sometimes wrestle with one another, and hopefully be able to give a generational wisdom that they'll go ahead and take forward. And I hope that one day a couple of them will take over the business. They've been attending there's this great trade show for jewelers down in Atlanta that offers a children's workshop. And so we've been able to take the older 3 grandkids with us to that.
Oh, that's neat.
They really are so talented.
Yeah.
And that's not just a grandmother speaking. And they enjoy it. So I do think that somebody's going to take up the mantle after Richie and Katie and Jackie move on.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, Danny and I are happy helping out here and still staying at the helm. And of course, with the mortgage that we have now on this building, we're going to be sticking with it for a while.
For the foreseeable future.
Yes, I think so. And the thing is, I love what I do. I love taking a person's worn out piece of jewelry and helping them design something new from it. That is, so I have been living my retirement dream my whole life. It's just
no sense of coming to work when you come through the door.
No, this is where my family is. Our sales associates are family, our friends that we know for so long, our family, although I didn't know you had been in the Navy, and I've been calling you Mr. Solvey.
That's okay. I've been calling you Mrs. Ketterman instead of Tammy.
I know, but I don't have a label other than Grammy Mick. You probably
I can't call you Grammy. Sorry, I can't go down that road. I'll stick with Mrs. Ketterman for now. I feel better with it.
But see, it's getting to know people like that. So you work all day with friends. It's great. I don't need to. I get to go home to a beautiful farm. I get to look at a beautiful mountain for the sunset each day. It's just, it's a wonderful place to live.
Got a good life.
Yeah, we have a fabulous life. Yeah. We do.
So let's wrap up, Mrs. Ketterman. What is there anything you want to tell the audience about maybe any kind of specials coming to the store? This, obviously holiday season coming up. That's a big season for you guys.
It is.
Do you have any special plans, or is it just like, hey, this is what we do? This is
well, this will be our first Christmas in this new store.
Yeah.
And last year we put out a little video of our getting ready for Christmas at the old store. And over the years we've developed a pretty slick system. And the Saturday before Thanksgiving, we close at 5 o'clock. We feed our entire staff and invite their family to come in, and we all eat together. We have a little training about what's coming up on the Christmas season. And then we all start pulling out boxes, and in 4 hours time the store is transformed into Christmas. we don't know what we're going
I
to
was going to
do
say.
here this year because we've got some wonderful new Christmas decor, but we don't know where it's going.
Where it's gonna go.
So we're excited to see what Kettermans is going to look like this year. One thing that is coming with us, though, and if anybody has been by our old store, years ago we decided we were going to put up some stars, which if you look at the stars, they're centerpieces across.
Yep.
And so we decided we wanted to make that statement, and so those are coming with us here. We did plan, I didn't plan to put an electric plug where you needed one this morning, but we do have it on the roof to have those stars and crosses there.
Yes.
And my husband is excited to see if you can see those from the flyover, because you can kind of see this area, so he's hoping that we're going to be able to see them. So we're going to test them out here in a couple of weeks just to see what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
So that I can promise you is going to be here for Christmas.
Good.
We're trying to work out the Charm Girl program with COVID. You know, we hope that we'll have some young ladies. But just yesterday we had a mom call and say, hey, are you doing that this year?
Mask up.
And mask up.
Put your mask on. We gotta, you know, we still gotta live. We gotta live our life.
That's right. And the masks have been kind of, I mean, as bad as they are, you just have to make them fun.
Yeah.
So I do believe everybody should have mask bling. See, I have my little bee on my mask.
Yeah.
So,
Well, good. Mrs. Ketterman, this has been so much fun for me. Thank you for agreeing. I know I had to twist your arm a little bit, but you did so good. And I, you know, as another business owner, I think I learn a lot from you and what you've done here. I use it, I think about it a lot, to be honest with you. So it's pretty neat. So everybody listening or watching the podcast right now, hey, I'm a big fan of the Kettermans. So if you need a watch, an engagement ring, any kind of jewelry for Christmas, birthdays, this is the place to get it. Talk to Mrs. Ketterman. She'll treat you like a sister, a mother, a daughter, whatever it may be. But it'll be a very special relationship that you won't regret. So come on out and say hello.
Thank you so much. I hope that this is a blessing to people and that you're blessed.
Thank you very much. That's nice of you to say.